US President sorry, US President Donald Trump has officially pushed the toothpaste out of the tube. He has spilt the milk and he has scrambled the egg. What I mean is he has done something that he can't undo, and now we're going to see a true test of the strength of US democracy and the institutions that uphold it in its current form. Let me explain what I mean. The main line of defense against Trump's efforts to push the limits of what is within his presidential power, as I said in my video on Monday, have been the courts. And now his White House has officially failed to comply with a court order. That is a Rubicon-crossing moment. And then it looks like he did it again. See, Trump has been taking L's left, right, and center as judges have been telling him a word that he doesn't seem to like to hear a lot. No. Like, for example, a judge told him that no, he can't unilaterally change the 14th Amendment to the Constitution, which guarantees that when you're born in the US, you're a citizen of the US. So this kind of situation keeps playing out again and again and again, where Trump tries to do something that presidents really don't have the power to do on their own. And because there are other branches of government that exist to keep each other in check and to make sure that one doesn't have too much power, Trump hits a roadblock, usually because of a judge saying, "What the hell, man? No." And this puts us on a path to learning the answer to the question of just how much damage Trump's administration will be able to do to US democracy and its institutions. Because depending on how Trump reacts to the word no, and how the institutions in question then react to his reaction, you will basically get the answer to the question of whether Trump will be able to bypass traditional checks and balances to impose his whims on American society and institutions. That's also why, even if you're not American, you should care about this. Because if no one is keeping him in check domestically, he can also try to do whatever he wants internationally without his domestic institutions getting in the way. Although in this extremely hypothetical at this point scenario, you can bet that other countries' institutions will probably try to get in the way. Anyways, the thing that has set this high stakes test into motion is that Trump tried to do a thing, the court said no, and now, for the first time, he said, "Who's gonna stop me?" Specifically, a judge has declared that for the first time, the Trump White House has defied a judicial order. They did this by ignoring a judge's order that the Trump administration release billions of dollars in grants that they had frozen. This money had already been allocated by Congress, which is the part of the US government that its constitution gives the power of the purse, meaning they're the ones who decide how public money is spent. In this case, Trump's funding freeze was set to impact billions of dollars that Congress had already earmarked for things like Medicaid, school lunches, food stamps, and more. The administration then turned around and clarified that things like food stamps and Medicaid would not actually be impacted by the freeze. But honestly, this whole thing has been incredibly chaotic and confusing. Meanwhile, the Trump administration still hasn't unfrozen all the funds as a Rhode Island judge ordered them to do. Because again, the president isn't supposed to be able to stop money from flowing to a place that Congress has already agreed to send it. And right after the news broke that Trump was defying the order to unfreeze these funds, we also saw US aid employees come forward to say the Trump administration is not complying with a judge's order to prevent the immediate dismantling of the aid agency. So that really sounds like he's ignoring a second order. Anyways, if Trump doesn't immediately comply with the courts, the plaintiffs can go back to the judge and point out, hey, he's still defying your order, and the Trump White House could be found in contempt. But this is where the test comes in. Who would prosecute that criminal contempt case? Who would enforce the checks and balances here? How America answers that question will be very important for its future. Eventually, if Trump takes this, well, try to stop me approach to all of the judicial branch's efforts to stop him from breaking the law or ripping up the US Constitution, then those cases could work their way up all the way to the Supreme Court. And then it'll be up to the Supreme Court, which is currently stacked in Trump's favor, to decide whether to rebuke his efforts to expand his presidential powers or to enable them. And then there's the additional question of, if he's rebuked, does he defy the Supreme Court? And what then does American democracy look like? So watch this space, because this is a real and existential test of US democracy and how much damage the Trump administration will be able to do at home and abroad. The end result of it could be a very big deal for all of us. What do you think of all this?